song says, we're gonna give him the glory. We're gonna give him the praise. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Book of John. It's your boy Jonathan McReynolds here. I'm, of course, here with my brother Brunes.
What up?
But do you hear that? Do you see? You hear bah? Do you hear that? Bah? Do you hear that? That means there's a goat in the room. Greatest of all time. Israel Houghton, y'all.
We're
starting this podcast with lies.
Come on, man.
I don't know how to feel about
It's
it.
the truth. It's the truth.
It's an honor to be with you, legends, guys.
How does it feel to be a GOAT? How does it feel to be one of the greatest of all time? How does it feel that when people hear "Lord, you are good," they just go crazy?
I don't know how it feels to be any kind of GOAT at all.
Okay, greatest of all time.
I have no idea how that feels. I think
We call you the greatest of all time.
When people sing those songs, though, at the top of their lungs in countries all over the world that we've been fortunate to go to, that never gets old. That is always like as early as last night in LA. It's refreshing to start "You Are Good" and people go, "Oh my gosh, this is the one." You know, that's my jam, and everybody starts jumping. That has never gotten old to me.
I hope it
Thank
does.
God, yeah.
And you know, I'm not gonna let you go without, because before the tour, I remember he was talking. Yeah, I guess I'll sing this and I was like hitting him with like, but what about this and this and this and this and this? And one, I didn't think I realized how much of a fan of Israel I've been, but also I think he forgot that some of the songs that maybe weren't number one on radio or Grammy Award winning per se are still like huge jams
For sure.
for everybody. It's not even just
A
me.
deep
Like,
catalog.
the catalog is crazy. I mean, you have the hitty hits of hits, and then you have the hits still. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, because I mean, songs like Deeper and now I'm gonna sit here and draw
Not For Your
blanks.
Grace.
If
We
not for your
talked
grace,
about that.
yeah, all of that, man. Like, all that meant a lot.
Yeah. It meant a lot to me too. And you know, it's funny, when I went through kind of some craziness in my life a few years back, a lot of those songs, those sort of those moment songs, those under the radar songs, God really used those songs to minister back to me.
Wow.
It was really weird because, first of all, I don't know how you feel about this, but like when I'm done with a record, when I've like, you know, edited it, mixed it and mastered it and turned it in, I never hear that record again.
Yeah, because we have, well, I know for me and probably for you in a lot of ways too, we've written the sonons, we've sung the songs, we produced the song, we played on the songs,
we obsessed over them in editing.
we mixed the songs basically. We've sat there while everybody else is, you know, tinkering with it. And so by the time it comes out, I know so many details about that song that it's almost frustrating to listen to. Like I can't even listen to it innocently anymore. It's a lot of math problems and equations and sentences that I wish I put a period instead of a comma. It's just crazy. And so, yeah, I understand that, man. You are one of the greatest of all time. Does that feel better?
It feels
if
a
I say
little bit
one
better.
of? Okay.
It feels a little bit better. And the only thing that supports that is when I look at people like you, I look at people like Travis, I look at people like Brunes, I look at people who, you know, because I remember starting out, Fred Hammond, who was like a mentor to me, was like, yeah, put the guitar down, man. Like, just get out there and sing. And I was like, yeah, but I play the guitar.
Wow.
And I kind of have this idea to merge this and this. And he admitted it. Like we did this documentary a bunch of years ago, covered it live in Asia. And he said, like, I didn't get it at first. He like owned that.
Wow.
He goes, but I've since stolen a bunch of Israel's ideas, which is kind of cool when your mentor does that. But I just think when I see the collective of people that go, we didn't see a black guy leading worship with a guitar till 20, 25 years ago.
Absolutely.
And it, you know, I've had people come up to me who are, you know, a third my age going, I saw you, I got a guitar, and this is what I do now. That kind of stuff makes me go, well, then I feel like I've done what I came here to do.
Legacy, Doc.
Yeah.
And we are all your children.
Oh, Lord, what a segue.
We are all your children. Listen, the way we start off this podcast, because, sometimes we'll come in off of a tour or the road and we kind of just come in the house, we drop our bags down. We never actually unpack that bag until it's time to repack it later.
That's true.
And so then all the clothes are dirty. Maybe you wanted to take those shorts, but you can't because they've been dirty this whole time. So I like to unpack at the beginning of the show. So I think it's time to unpack.
Lucy, I'm home!
Israel, well, first of all, man, I just want to say that it's been an honor to be on the One Hallelujah tour with you and play, with you every night. I think there's something really validating, definitely for me, and I might be projecting onto the audience as well. But I think when I sing Make Room, it's like, yeah, that's our boy John. He's singing one of our generational worship songs. We love it. But when Iz sings, I will make room, they're like, wait a minute. It's something really validating about that moment. Like one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all time is singing this song his way, making it his own, doing his own thing, playing it, and all the other stuff. That's so validating. That's like, my song is worth Israel's mouth. That's really dope.
Wow.
And so I just want to unpack that, and we had a episode a few weeks back, maybe last week, I can't remember, a few weeks back, and I was just talking about how awesome that moment is between me, with me and you, playing Make Room, playing Moving Forward, and we kind of just playing around. And
you were talking about me and I wasn't here?
I was talking about you.
That's
As
so
a matter of
cool.
fact,
Thank you, John.
you've been talked about in a few episodes, actually.
Yeah.
Even Leon, my barber, talked about you because he was very impressed that you being, again, one of the greatest of all time, was so down to earth and cool to him. He said he kind of expected you to be a little grander.
Really?
And people in Chicago are always on grand watch.
Got it.
And so,
Grand watch.
so yeah, for real. So he even talked about how you were holding both greatness and goodness as just a man
Wow.
pretty well.
That's high praise, man. And that's the kind of compliment you hope for, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think that it's very important for me in this season while we've been pursuing greatness. Man, so much of this podcast is about the goodness part of it. It's about how do we just date right? How do we just be good friends? How do we just hold each other accountable? How do we just not be trash, even though our gifts and God's opportunities are making us great? Doesn't get that much greater than Brunes right now. He's taking over. He's everybody's MD. He's
Grammy
everybody's
nominated.
all of that, man.
I see you.
You know what I'm saying?
Honored, y'all.
But is he good? We're still trying to figure that out.
Wow, that's crazy, John. Like, I thought you would end that a little better.
Sorry, I mean,
He is good.
he's all right.
God has said you are good.
Wow.
So I'm going to
I
echo
received
that.
Brunes, you are good.
You came on the right day, You came on the right day.
We're going to balance. We're going to balance. I'll play bad cop,
Appreciate
play
that.
good cop.
If I'm good, what are you?
I'm trying to be good too.
Nah,
I'm trying to be good. There's a greatness that requires practice. It requires isolation. It might require some selfishness and self-absorption. It might require, I ain't going to go out today because I'm working on my craft. I'm working in the studio. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Matter of fact, I need to kind of be a little away from y'all. I might need to be a little shady sometimes. I might need to fight for myself and be a little more, shrewd.
Mm-hmm.
But then goodness requires a whole different thing.
Goodness is probably more in line with the economy of God.
Exactly.
Which is everything up starts down. Like you have to die to live. You have to give to receive. It's the greatest
crazy.
in the kingdom is he who serves the most. So it's like that is so backward from the American
the
dream.
least of these concept. Yeah.
And so that says a lot about God's heart. I can tell you what sort of my tipping point moment for that was, because I think anybody who's pursuing greatness, when they start to tap those moments and go, wow, I'm touching great. I could tell I'm touching greatness. I just found myself in a room with so-and-so and he said, and you're like, whoa, you walk out of there feeling like a couple feet taller. You know what I mean? I remember when I lived in Nashville, when I was first starting out, pulling up to my little bank, and it was SunTrust Bank in in Nashville.
Shout out SunTrust.
Yep.
I don't know.
In Nashville on Music Row, and it was sort of the bank that all the musicians and artists sort of went to.
Yeah.
So I pull up. It is pouring rain. When I'm telling you pouring rain, and I'm about to get out to run for it, and I see a guy coming out of the bank with a big black cowboy hat running toward his car, which is a big truck next to mine. And just as he gets to the top of the stairs, a homeless dude stops him. He says, Mr. Brooks, Mr. Brooks, Mr. Brooks. It's Garth Brooks.
Mhm.
Hey, I've been trying to talk to you. And so Garth Brooks, in the rain, takes his hat off, puts it over his heart and starts engaging the guy, getting dumped on.
Wow.
I'm sitting in my car, and I promise you, the Holy Spirit said, pay attention.
Hmm.
I don't know how else to put that. Pay attention.
Wow.
And he said, I've been writing songs, man. You know, and who can I get these songs to? Garth sits there, writes a number down for the guy in the rain, says, call this man, tell him we spoke today, and I want to hear your songs. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Got in his car, soaking wet, and drove off. And I went, that guy right now is the biggest artist on the planet, country, pop, or otherwise. And I went, and I'm a guy in a genre that is 1% of the music industry,
Mhm.
and I'm acting grand,
Mm.
and I'm making demands, and I'm telling the promoter, you know, I said green M&Ms only. You know what I mean? Like, I'm joking, but like, for us to be, you know, in this sort of less visible thing, but
Wow.
to act like we are grander than all, and then somebody from Oklahoma who just was loyal to his craft and loyal to his band and loyal to his friends becomes,
Yeah.
you know, a billionaire almost, and he's so humble. And I've known people that have been in his crew over the years. They're like, we have to pull him away after a show so he doesn't grab road cases and stuff and help us pack. Like, that's the type of dude he is. And I just remember going, that's the kind of artist I want to be.
Wow.
I haven't done it well the whole time, but you know, if somebody goes, hey, can I talk to you, or can you help me with something? I always sort of flash back to that moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like God has honored that. So when Leon says, hey, this guy has greatness and goodness, that is the highest, that's the highest compliment for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, we look at you, and a lot of what we've been talking about is kind of developing. I think we're kind of moving past the unpacking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think that everything's out.
unpack.
We unpack. All right.
He helped you unpack.
We unpack. Thank you. But going back just to me and Brunes and what we've been talking about, we've been, and I think it's not even on purpose. It's just, if you open up a guy in their 30s, how old are you?
32.
32, I'm 34. If you open up our heart and our brain, what's there is, how am I supposed to be a man again? I think we run into all the, we run into that like at 16 or 13 to 16.
Yep.
Then we run into it again when we go to college and we kind of get out of mama's house. And then we kind of run into it again when we have this kind of 30 point where it's like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be not just learning how to be a man, but I'm supposed to be like killing it now, right? I'm supposed to be making the money. I'm supposed to be helping other people along. They're calling me Uncle Johnny at this point, you know? And so I have a generation underneath me. I should be farther along. So when you open up us guys' heart, you see this spot that really just wanted to be and wants to be a good man. Great man, good man. And I think that's been a lot of our discussion. So we have a very special question that we want to ask you.
Oh, gosh.
Want to talk about. But first, I want to prove or disprove their musical genius. Let's go. The way this game goes is I'm going to play a song, the intro of a song, a small snippet of a song, in 3 different keys. Don't try to cheat and look for the warp, because they're all warped. You're gonna have to figure out and tell me which one is the actual original key of that recording. That's all you gotta do. And it's Israel versus Brunes.
Wow.
Guitar player versus guitar player.
It's perfect pitch over there versus whatever I got.
No, I beat him last time. He doesn't have perfect
All right,
pitch.
let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever you got is not perfect.
Wow, that's crazy. You beat me by 1.
I'm just saying, 1 out of 3. It's all right. Here we go. Let's start it off with a little bit of something y'all should know.
I know it's not one.
You sure?
I'm pretty positive.
All right. That was one.
All right.
Here's two.
We just took it up. You did a really good job warping these songs.
You're welcome.
Play the third one.
All right, that's number two. Here's number three.
It's
Wow.
number 2.
It's definitely not 3. I mean, the tempo just changed.
I'm saying number 2.
What you saying, Brunes?
2.
See, you got to know not to answer before him.
But what
because
does that mean?
we call him AOB here, accuser of the brethren, and then also AOC, author of confusion. So you have to know that he's going to game the system every time.
Bro, did I not say it's not number 1? Like 10 seconds
See,
in.
and then
He
he-
said it's not number
he
1,
gaslights.
and he said it's not number 3.
Yeah.
All right, the answer
Do
is...
you want me to pick number 4? Is there a 4th one?
Yes, here it goes.
All right.
Anyway, the answer was, in fact, number 2.
Hey.
Boom.
What song is that?
It's Africa by Toto.
There you go.
For special
Why-
credit, who's actually
Yeah,
singing it?
why do you have to point at me? Like, why do you...
Because
Who's singing it, John?
Yeah, who's singing it?
I have no idea. I only know Toto. I just know Toto. I
Toto's
don't know.
amazing.
I don't know the
Yeah,
individual
but who's
singers.
actually singing it?
It's a couple different guys singing on it
Yeah.
from Toto.
Anyway, all right. Let's try number 2.
All right.
Here we go.
We're tied.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound. Staring blankly ahead, just making my way through the crowd.
I love this song.
It's such a hit, and I listen to it sometimes. I'm like, why was this so good? I can't tell. I can't like be intellectual about it, but it did work.
Yeah.
It's the motif.
And years later, it's still hot.
Making
Number
my
2.
way downtown,
Nope.
walking fast, faces pass.
We can go to number 3.
You could go straight there if you'd like.
Number 3.
Making my way downtown.
Oh, wait.
walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound.
It's 1.
Staring blankly ahead, just making
Can you play number 1 again?
I can't play him again. You know the rules.
Wow. Did you say that at the start of the game that you can't play it
I
again?
said that last week.
Hey,
This is a
AOC.
new week.
See, you see how it goes?
I'm just saying. He didn't say the rules.
Israel's validated that you are absolute AOC.
That's just
okay?
crazy. I'm going with number 1.
You say 1. What you got?
I'm going to go with 1 as well, Bob.
You gonna go with 1? Oh, the answer was not that. Actually, the last one was the best one.
Are you sure?
Yeah. This was number 1.
Making my way downtown, walking fast.
That feels original to me.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't have it mixed up?
I don't think so. Everything's possible.
How do you know you're right?
Making my way downtown, walking
That's
fast. Faces pass, and I'm home.
No, this
That's
is
2.
this was 3. This is the last one I played.
There's no way that's the original.
Yeah, let's check it.
Let's check it.
Let's
It's
check
possible. Listen, I can make mistakes here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
That would be
what's
a
the artist name.
that'd be a
Sarah-
huge
Vanessa
mistake.
Carlton.
Vanessa Carlton.
Would you apologize to the both of us if you're wrong?
Would you apologize to the body of Christ live tonight on stage? Here in San Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was doing.
Making my way downtown, walking fast.
So are you guys gonna apologize to me now?
Yeah, you know, on behalf of the whole body
Yeah.
of Christ and the goats, the almost goats society.
All the lambs, all the goats.
Was that number 1 you just played?
No, it's number 3.
No, that was the last one.
No.
So I played this one
Got it.
first. This was number 1.
Downtown.
That felt a real.
I know, cause I'm double warping it so y'all don't just listen for warp. Sounds terrible,
Making my way downtown.
but that's actually the right key. Faces fast and I'm homebound.
All right. Well, we're
That's
still
cool.
tied. Whatever.
Tiebreaker.
All right, now listen. This is number 3. Israel, you should have an advantage here.
All right.
But let's see.
I think he should answer first.
I don't know, but this would be really embarrassing. Is it feeling wonky? Is it feeling good? That's number one.
Okay.
See number two. Brunes, what you got?
That feels good.
That feels right.
That feels good. Is he said you can't sing? That's a part of the rule.
I didn't say that. He just made it up. He's the AOC. But but it does feel like it's not cheating. I mean, you got to use what you got. I knew what I was doing
When
I
the hits came in, that felt a little.
it felt a little
number
weird.
3?
All right, let's see number 3. Ooh.
Iz wants to pick number 2.
I don't know what he said. Did he say 2-1?
He didn't say anything yet.
And this is for the marbles right here. This is game 7.
I'm going
this
number
is
2 before he
Game
picks number
7
2.
championship. 9.6 seconds left.
What happens if we tie? Is there overtime? Do you have an overtime selection?
Yeah, are you ready for an overtime?
I wasn't,
You're not prepared.
but I'll do this. This is what I'll do. I will make up something on the fly.
Okay. All right.
I will make a.
Right. I'll sing my own song. But you got
He's going with 2. I'm going with 1.
Wow.
I'm this 4th down. This is the last play.
You're going with
It's
number
marbles.
1?
Marbles. 1.
wow. This was number 1.
That seems pretty high, actually.
This is number 2.
That feels
That
good.
feels right. I'm sorry. I said 1 though,
You said
didn't I?
1 no. Brunes won now with
Let's
somehow he has beaten one of the greatest of all time with his own song. OMG. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, man. I don't think I'm going to be able to continue.
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I thought for sure I was handing him the victory.
Hey, man.
Brunes, I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you,
You've
man.
come a long way.
Thank you, man.
You've come a long way.
Thank you,
I
man.
knew it was 2, but I just wanted a game time.
I appreciate that.
snapshot finish.
I appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And part of my goodness is letting others
Yeah.
win.
Wow. How did y'all do? Did you do well? Either way, just listen to it one more time because it's one of the greatest of all time. Let's go. In the lawn.
Yeah, next time, can you have a 4th one ready? That'd be great.
You
Just in
don't need
case.
4 to
Just in case we
tie break.
tie.
Just because we were gonna tie, and when I realized
First of all,
we could,
I got a question. How did everybody know the song already? You just recording the song. How does a song, a live recording, start with the crowd already knowing the song?
You could have taught it before.
we did teach it before, and that was the second night. So we did a Thursday night and a Friday night, and this was in Atlanta.
Cheat codes.
Cheat codes. And we definitely, like Aaron and I would start. So there was a couple things we always tried to do, and that was sort of demystify the, whoa, here come the. So we would come out there, blank stage, lights up, and me and Aaron would just walk out and be like, hey, we want to teach you all a few songs, and just kind of get rid of the, and now, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was good. Do it again.
It only happens once.
Okay.
But and so we would, we knew like Rejoice for sure, and like a few songs like I want you
wanted-
guys to be familiar with
Right,
this
yeah.
when it happens because you're starting the song.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite. I like to surprise people.
Yeah.
I don't want them to know. For a long time, I didn't even put lyrics on the screen.
Yeah,
because I wanted.
then you're
people
making
to-
yourself work 3 times harder, bro.
No, but I think it's this type of song that I have.
Sure.
The songs that I make. I want people to listen, and I want them to kind of just hear it as it's coming. Like I want them to hear the punchline. I want them to hear the whatever as it's coming, as it's happening. And so, like for me, I prefer just no
Just
lyrics.
vibe with it, yeah.
Like now, especially for like this tour, the songs that I'm singing, they're out already. Some of them are, they're already popular or hits, whatever you want to call them. And so I don't mind people being able to sing along to a song that they've already kind of heard. But like people and stuff like that, the first time I was rolling that out, I like when people are like just listening to what I'm saying.
That's different though.
Yeah.
because that's a communication song as opposed to an interaction song. I mean, you still interact with it.
No, I love that.
Yeah, I love it. That song is fantastic. Your set is fantastic. I want to look into the camera and say, if you missed the One Hallelujah tour, dang, you missed it.
Dang.
Missed a lot.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to get back to, what we were talking about. There is something that unifies us all here. We are all men who are musicians, who love women, have loved women our entire lives, from mama to now wife, and
Single.
Potential
some options. I ain't no better.
roster. That's right.
And so at this point, one thing that we've heard a lot of, one thing that we have probably added some fuel to the fire for dating musicians,
Oh my God.
dating artists, it's tough. They don't trust us. They love us, but they don't trust us.
Are we trustworthy? It's probably the
And
question.
that's what I'm trying to decide. Do we deserve the reputation that we have? Musicians are known to be flaky. We're known to be very unfaithful.
It
We're
hurts
known
me.
to be very erratic. We're known to be maybe a little narcissistic sometimes, kind of self-absorbed. I think a lot of times women might feel that we already have a girlfriend and her name is music and they're kind of number two.
Yep.
And so all these things, I'm just wondering, talking to, now you're not even the greatest of all time. You're just a good man, okay?
Yes, sir.
A good king, silver fox. We don't have it. Do we deserve that? And how is it your generation's fault?
Wow.
It wasn't our fault. We wasn't the first one.
And my generation sure was not the first ones. And most of us are recipients of a succession of just bad decisions made, especially if you are the son of a musician. So it's like it's kind of been this, I don't want to get all deep and call it a curse or a generational thing, but like at some point it does take somebody like you and your generation to ask these questions and go, the big question is, how do I break that?
Are we terrible or not?
I mean, listen, my father was born out of wedlock. His father was born out of wedlock. I was born out of wedlock. I have children born out of wedlock. Those children have produced children out of wedlock. I'm a grandfather. And I look at that and go, okay, where did I fail to stop it in my line? And how do I? So, I mean, I didn't mean to harp on that, but you asked if it's my generation's fault. And I think, of course, it is to some degree, but it doesn't start. It doesn't start there. Somebody kept that continuum going.
Yeah.
Is it fair? It is, but it's this weird cycle because, to your point, they're looking at it as I'm secondary to your pursuit of music, the drug of music or the girl of music or the muse, so to speak. And I have to play, sideline to that. That's a pretty fair assessment of most guys. I think most guys who do what we do. I think every musician though, deep down, is constantly looking for that one who tames the wild beast.
So let me start off with this. Are we different fundamentally and how? Brunes,
Different in what way? Like, what do you mean?
our musicians, are we really a different breed from other guys? Accountants, athletes, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it about us that makes us different and more, I guess, just more cumbersome or also more attractive? I mean, listen, we got pros and cons to this musician thing. We don't have a hard time out here, but we do have a very hard time.
Yeah, I have a hard time when I hear a woman say, he's a musician, watch out. I hate that.
I know you hate that, but Does that seem just totally untrue?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question as you were saying that, like, because you were saying like we are recipients of the old, like we just didn't break the cycle. Do you think how you explained what happened, even with your dad and everything like that, would have happened if he wasn't a musician?
Definitely.
You think that it would not have happened?
I think it would have happened regardless.
Yeah. So
I don't put it squarely on the music piece, which
Right.
to your point. I will say though, entertainers, athletes, people who are public facing, who are stage oriented,
Yeah.
performance oriented,
and entertainment oriented have a much tougher time.
That's what I was
Much
getting to.
Tougher time for sure.
And I mean, why is that? Is that a occupational hazard? Is it a job fault, or is it us?
I think it's what we're exposed to, what's around us, everything we see, what's accessible as well. It's tough. It's constantly having to make the right decision.
That's fair.
Every time.
And I think it's constantly having to make the right decision, especially in times of feeling very like we go up and down with the waves of tour, for instance.
Yeah.
Like the adrenaline of being on stage, and then maybe even the loneliness afterwards. And then add that the fact that we've probably sung to, let's just say, at least 2,000 or 3,000 attractive women every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I just said you, like we have a lot of exposure, a lot of options, and then that plus the kind of weirdness and kind of alienness that we can feel sometimes from day to day. The fact that, and a lot of musicians, like, now we hoop and stuff like that, but a lot of musicians don't even hoop like that. Like
Right.
a lot of musicians, you throw them a ball and it's like, oh, what are you doing? Don't mess up my hands, my pretty hands. Okay, they're not even thinking like that. And so I just think that musicians are really a rare breed, and I think that there are a lot of ladies in particular who are drawn to us. But I think that we need to possibly, maybe in this conversation, we could take a few minutes and try to decode what is it that musicians need that is different from other guys?
And
What tames that beast?
secondly, what are they attracted to? Are they attracted to you? Your just you as John?
Mm-hmm.
Are they attracted to the magnetism of what you emit from a stage, like how you sing, how you play, how you make them feel? Like that's why there's more to it than being an accountant. You know what I mean? No disrespect to any accountants watching.
Yeah.
At
That's
this time.
good,
My cousin is an accountant, and he's living a very solid, straight up love life. And I am so
Guys, I am a musician.
in admiration and
I am a
envious of it.
musician with a very checkered past, and I am living an upstanding, solid, one-woman life.
Let's go,
So
man.
it's possible. And Adrian tamed.
Okay,
whatever
what did
that
she do to
thing was.
tame?
I mean, can I be honest? She
course.
just was herself. I was the one, like, making the adjustment. I was the one going, I could probably let some of these walls down now.
Whoa.
I could probably let go of some of these crutches and excuses now. And it was because when she came into my world, she came in as a friend. So we were friends for 3 years before we even looked at each other differently like that.
Yeah.
One, because there was no option for that. Like that was not even possible. But secondly, when we finally started realizing, okay, we've got something here, it was because I was presented an opportunity to tell her the truth about where I really was. And she was one of the first human beings that heard it all.
Were you ever reserved at first before you told her?
I was reserved for 3 years. And when we started dating, I was like, okay, there's a few things I probably should tell you, because if this is turning into something, here we go.
Brunes has been trying to figure out, because this is a major thing for him. He's very guarded,
Yeah.
apparently. He calls himself.
That's fair, right?
He said he's not emotionally available. That's what he said.
I got to do better.
And he says you got to do better. So I think what he needs to get out of you, what he wants to get out of you, and what we all need as well, is how do we trust the woman? Like, what does it take? What do we need to see? And then how do we get over ourselves so that we could just be like, okay, I think this is safe enough. Here's what's going on. And then what kind of walls did you start shedding? Like, we need a little more specific.
Yeah,
man.
like before you went into the conversation, you're like, oh, I got to tell her this, got to tell her that. Don't know how.
Well, I mean, for me, it was terrifying because she was on TV every day. They're tackling topics like cheating, for instance, and she is very animated about if somebody cheats. Oh my God, So I'm thinking to myself, when I go and tell her, hey, I cheated in my first marriage and it's a real mess, and this is what happened. She's gonna be like, y'all are the same.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the conversation.
That's the truth.
So I was always afraid to even go there.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you something, man. I told her something that I had been holding that nobody knew that was eventually going to come out. But I remember, like, I don't get nervous. Like, I'm on stage every night with you guys. I'm never nervous. I'm just like, whatever, and that works for me. I hardly ever get nervous, but this time my leg is shaking, my lip is quivering, my hands are trembling, I got cold sweats, And I say to her, I got to just tell you, here's what's up. And I expected her to rear back and go, see, I knew, And instead she reached across the table and grabbed my hand. And she said, Jesus, please help this man know that he is not what he has done.
Wow.
And so much of my shame and guilt and condemnation had been so entangled in my own personal being that I'm like, I'm dead. I'm done. I'm finished. Like, and I remember telling her I'll never get married as long as I live again. She'd be like, why not? I was like, because I'm no good at that. So she had that already in the back of her mind. Like, if we even were to pursue something, I've got to break that off this guy if this is even viable. And when that moment of prayer happened, I just knew I've never been covered like that before by anyone. And that's no disrespect to anyone I've ever had life with, but I've never felt like truly protected and held in that moment. Yeah. And I think when a guy gets that, when the beast gets the beauty to go, I see through all that. And the beauty tames his heart, wins his heart, and he's able to actually be a human being and not main character syndrome musician on stage guy. And he can just be a living, breathing, loved human being. He'll turn in his player card that day.
But I think, okay, so she killed it when she had a chance. But I think what we've been trying to figure out is what is it going to take out of us to even give the girl that chance? Because
I think there's no like 1-2.
But I'm saying, what did it take for you? Like, what state were you just broken? Were you just like, you know what? F it. I've already hit rock bottom. If another girl rejects me, I'll deal with it. Or, I mean, like, what did it take for you to be like, you know what? I'm at least gonna give this a shot and say what's on my brain and what's on my heart.
Yeah, because you
to even give her a chance.
Transparent.
Well, because I could tell my heart was changing, and she had sort of confessed that her heart was changing. Like, this is now a viability, and I knew at that point I can't string this along. Because that would almost be fraudulent, right? Like, let me have her fall in love with me, and then let me hit her with the, now that we're in love. And I think musicians
you
do
musician.
that. Right? I think we do that. I mean, most musicians have, I don't want to say most because that's not fair, but a lot of musicians that I've done life with have horrible credit, bad financial relationships, bad, female relationships. And so when they bring all that sort of luggage to a new relationship, all we're doing is sending our representative out for the first 6-8 months of that and going, hey, I've never gone to the bathroom in my life, like I've never had gas. Like my breath is always this minty fresh. Like, come on, because you're like, how can I impress her to the point where I finally got her on the hook? Then I can start revealing all my stuff, as opposed to when you find the person that you are willing to take that risk with, it's best to just go, here's what you're getting.
Now, I gotta admit, I start off I front load. Oh, I front load. Remember I was telling. I mean,
Yeah.
I front load. Okay, like I don't. I do
That's
all the
impressive.
cars because I. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and you have a chest pain and you want them to properly diagnose that chest pain.
Good.
You start telling them everything. Oh yeah, and I stubbed my toe too, and my head was hurting as well, and I might not have taken a shower yesterday. I'm not sure, but you just start throwing out all this information because you want to give them everything so that they properly diagnose. And I think for me, I think I've always looked at a woman, the potential of her, whatever, as a possible, as you said, antidote or taming. And I'm trying to give you all the possible information I think I can give you. Now, there's stuff that I might not be aware of. There's stuff that I might not know about. There's stuff that I might not realize. I might have my own blind spots, whatever. But really, I'm trying to give you as much information that I think I know. This is how I act. This is what I'm missing after I get off stage. This is how I feel after I get off tour. This is what I'm trying to give you as much information as possible so that you can succeed in diagnosing and then treating me in a way. And so I think that's kind of been my motivation for being real open, because I don't want you to get me wrong and then show up with ibuprofen when what I really needed was.
Have you been Have you ever shared all that and been rejected?
I wouldn't say rejected, but I would say that I had to learn that too much information for a woman sometimes is not
It's like
good.
drinking from a fire hydrant.
Yeah, it's like it's right. It's like,
It will come back up. Yeah.
and I think that and sometimes because women are trying to protect themselves too. They're not trying to run themselves to the ringer. I was just talking to another friend. By the time anybody, human, man or woman, by the time we get into our 30s, we're all tired of something.
Fair.
We are tired of something. We're either tired of lying folks. We're either tired of cheating folks. We're either tired of MIA, ghosting folks, flaky folks, people that, I don't know, are vegan. I don't know. We're tired of something by the time we're 30. And so I think for me, I've realized that women are protecting themselves, their honor, their hearts really hard as well. And when you give them a lot of information, sometimes they just go into that mode where, okay, well, now I'm going to look out for that, or I'm going to be worried about that. Matter of fact, maybe I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? So even if they don't reject you, they get a lot in their brain that you maybe didn't want them to process. You were just trying to be honest and lay all the cards out on the table, and you didn't realize that was going to stick in their brains,
Right.
and like an amoeba for a long time. So I think there is a middle ground. It's not necessarily bringing a representative. You definitely don't want to do that, but I think you do have to have some things a little more processed and figured out, so that when you give it to them, it's not so raw and just all over the place.
Yeah.
Like
That's
maybe
good.
they
That's
can
very
do that with one or two things, but if you
But not
like,
everything.
it's blah, and they're like, "What do you mean doing all this?" I think that's been the lesson that I've learned over the years, and so now in these last 3-4 years, whatever of dating, it's kind of like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm working on that, so don't even worry about that. This is something that I have to be extremely raw and honest about.
Yeah.
And so I understand if you have to deal with that, but I think that for musicians, we exist in a world that the only thing that has understood us extremely well is the music itself, like the piano, the guitar itself. Like even parents don't always get what you're doing over there. And so I think that for me, and maybe for a lot of musicians, they just don't necessarily realize it, we're looking for understanding. And we're looking for a chance to be, here's another thing, musicians are sensitive as heck.
Yeah.
Okay, we are possibly more sensitive than the ladies we date. Now, are we gonna cry as much? No. Are we gonna have a meltdown, breakdown? Maybe not. But we are like way more sensitive than we give ourselves credit. And I think that puts us in a very strange air when it comes to women. And I think that you did something that we all aspire to. And that is, hey, honestly, I'm gonna have to deal with losing her. I'm gonna have to deal with her thoughts of me at least for a while. But I gotta tell her the truth about who I've been and who I am.
I will tell you what enabled it. By then, I knew for sure that we would be friends forever. Like at that point, I knew, regardless of what I say in this moment, this woman's going to be my friend. By that point, I had gotten to know her family really well. I had done business with her brother-in-law by then. Like I'm connected. I just was taking a risk on, can this go to another level? And and I'm glad I took the risk.
So what should we look for in a woman?
Friendship. Like, it's important to like the one you love.
What you mean?
It's important to like the one you love. I think a lot of people fall in love. They love that endorphin rush. They love the dopamine, you know. They love
Honeymoon
all
stages.
of that. Yeah, and I have friends. I know people who are like serial daters, engagers, and then when that euphoria wears off, they break up and go start a new one, get engaged, and don't quite get married. Some of them have, and that's disastrous.
So give me an example of a moment when you realized, I like you.
So like for me,
Yeah.
it at our wedding, we did this whole thing, read from this children's book to each other called I Like You. And it was just very, very, very simple. But it was like everybody in the room got it. Like, these people are friends, and they could have a bad day, they could have a bad argument, whatever. And when that argument's done, they're going to hold hands and drive and go get lunch somewhere.
I think if everybody else in the room feels really uncomfortable about what's going on between two people, chances are those two people actually like each other. It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
They're like,
We've all been in relationships that the love was there, but it ebbed and flowed.
For
But
sure.
you're like, oh, I don't know if I like hanging out with this person a whole lot. And that's unfortunate, but that's real. That's just real. So at some point you have to know who you're hanging with enough to like them, to even consider. So when people start on I'm so in love and it's so euphoric and I don't know anything about him, but it's so great. Like, you
I don't know
best
anything
of luck
about
with
him.
that.
Brunes, do you feel like you've liked just say the last 2 or 3 people that you have dated? I don't know who they are, and it could be official.
I do.
I mean, I know at least 1 or 2, but I'm just you know, be as diplomatic as possible. If you look back on it, here's the thing, especially as men of God, we also feel like we need to get married. We also have that monkey on our back that we feel a little pressure. It's kind of like,
Please allow me to help you with that. Stop that.
I'm just saying,
I'm telling you.
Because everyone's asking, when are you going to get married?
But
Yeah,
you live your life.
I'm just saying, they be looking at us like we crazy or terrible.
Let them look.
I'm just saying.
How
So
long are you going
that's
to keep?
a myth.
How long are you going to keep doing this?
somebody asked
And
me.
my answer to that would be until.
I love that.
Until.
Somebody asked me, and they said, do you like having a girlfriend? And I had to be honest. I was like, well, I would say that there is a certain loneliness that comes with this life, getting off stage and, you know, empty hotel room, empty flight, go home to an empty house. That is lonely. But I had to be really honest, and I'm proud of myself. This sounds really precise for me. It feels better to me in my churchy, traditional, having to do this in front of people's soul to have a prospect. That's really what it feels better to feel like I'm on track with somebody. That somebody is possibly going to end up as the wife. And when there is no prospect, then I feel really off track.
Is it prospect or prospects?
Prospect, like literally dating somebody. Don't do me, Ed.
I love that. Yeah.
I think because there's always prospects for dating. There's prospects for time filling. But normally in life, there's really only one prospect for wife.
I do think there's a certain paralysis that comes with over analyzing stuff. And I think you could just get stuck. And I'm not saying you are at all.
Oh, no, I think
But I think variety is the spice of life, but too much spice is going to make you cough too.
Yeah, we just tried like some sour pickle balls the other day.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
still
Still there.
It's
Might want to
still
watch that episode.
It's still there.
It's pretty bad.
Okay. Well,
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's way
avoid-
too much spice.
yeah.
And yeah,
My point
I
is,
overthink.
when you find, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. He said, I'm in this thing, I'm trying to, seeing if it's going to work. And I said, is it worth working on?
wow.
And it was like, it wasn't deep, but I said, is it worth working on? And he like leaned back and he's like, wow. And he had to start going, okay, if I stopped all that analysis and right now had to go, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue. And I'm going to try this out and see if I adjust naturally and see if things, just naturally, I strengthen her, she strengthens me where I'm weak, and this is working. I guarantee you when you find that person, and this might be the person you're already talking about now, okay, I'm not laughing as much right now. That's because certain things got to get figured out.
Comfortable. Yeah.
Mm.
But
That's
when
fair.
they are, you're like, oh, thank God I went through that, tough part of this thing or the unknown part of this thing to get to this.
And that's why I do like front loading, because
That's
I
brilliant.
do like getting through some of that. So
I'm going
that
to tell
when
you that's rare, though. I'm going to
for
tell you.
men
Yeah.
or
For men,
Period.
for
Definitely.
musicians,
oh, okay.
for any front-facing people,
Definitely.
that is rare.
Well, I
as
think
it
that's
gets.
because I am probably just as much or
The
more
total
nerd
opposite.
and thinker than I am, as I am music.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, it's like, no, I want it to be right. I don't want it to be propped up. And I've had to even balance this out, because ladies do like a sense of romance and sentiment. They do like a few roses and petals to run through and posies. You know what I'm
They
saying?
do.
They do like a nice rain on the outside of the window. You know what I'm saying? And so you do have to give them a little, if not a lot.
What do you tell them?
Of
You're not
that.
romantic?
No, I'm not saying that. But I think I am more concerned
Yeah.
with but what's really happening? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, being too honest. It's like, I could say, wow, this is just wonderful. But instead I want to say, I mean, it's cool, but remember that time? I don't know. I think it's just kind of like picking it, and I think sometimes I snatch defeat from the jaws of victory a little time, and it's just like, okay, you relax. And I think that's where the overthinking part
But does
comes
that
in.
translate to a fear of commitment for you? Does it translate to a fear of committing to the wrong person? It's
It's
probably a
the
better question.
fear of committing to the wrong person for sure. And I think that, and you said something really important, and we got to go in a minute, but you said, is it working versus is it worth working on?
Yeah.
And I think
That's great.
that's beautiful, but there was something in me
That wanted
that
to
didn't
fight
like
that?
it.
Okay.
It wanted to fight it,
Go ahead.
because I'm not 24 anymore.
Okay.
I didn't just start this. I didn't start this tour life. I didn't just start kind of pouring out my life to people. I didn't just start flying all over the place, and I have diamond and executive platinum and all this status with like 5 of the airlines.
nice.
I didn't just start that. I've been doing this now for at least a decade. So there is a certain level of need. There's a certain level of right now that I crave. And so I need it to both work and be worth working on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I hear you with the kind of like, what do they call it? Delayed gratification. I've always been like that. I mean, like, man, I will set up all these cameras and do these podcasts. I love investing in things that maybe haven't taken off yet. But I think that because I've done that so much in music and profession, in relationships and everything, at this point, as I said, 30-year-olds, we're tired of something. At this point, I am tired a little bit of having to wait for things to work and only getting to work on.
I didn't say waiting for them to work.
Well, I mean, or just working on something and not getting at
Bro,
least.
I've been married 8 years.
some-
Wait. I've been married
some
8 years
taste.
and we're still working on it.
But still,
Wow.
you got some kind of taste of this works.
It only works because it's worth working on.
Or maybe it's worth working on because it works.
Oh, Jonathan.
I'm just saying, I just want
It's
a
a
little
decision he has
It
to
is a
make.
decision every day because as a musician,
I'm
I
talking
am
about
capable of doing the extreme opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing.
right.
I've proven that to myself.
Me too.
So
Especially Brunes. I mean, we have a story, but he has a novel.
Wow.
I'm just
got a
playing.
novel?
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't
What's
know.
it called? I
It's a
thought
bad
you read
shit.
it. Yeah.
It's called
the point is,
Figuring it out.
Coffee Brunes in the morning.
yeah. The point is, I
Y'all
think
catch that later.
there is I think it's okay to like kind of explore and analyze, but then you get to a point where you're like, you're gonna have to make a decision, man.
And just live with it.
No, not just live with it. At least give it a shot. Work on it. That's what being in a
Yeah.
relationship is, right?
I don't think
And then
anything
you go,
just works.
then you wake up the next day and go, I really want to invest in this.
Yeah.
And you wake up that next Friday and you go, I'm still investing in this. And it's not. I think.
But what about if you
strike me as
don't
the
want to
type of
work?
person that wants a prefab relationship. You're willing to help
I love
build
to
it.
get in the mud.
Yeah.
I love to work
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
What I'm saying is though, has there ever been moments where you have invested and you have gone hard and it did not happen and you wondered, should you have invested all that?
Of course. Relationships and actual investments. That's it's risk and reward always. And there's no panacea. There's no like obvious way to do it. It's like you kind of discover. And what I love this phrase, you win some and you learn some. I don't see it as a loss. I see I went through that. I was willing to invest until I wasn't. And what I learned about myself during that process, I can bring to whatever is the next chapter of my life.
I gotta admit,
That's really
every
good.
relationship, even if it's not like a full blown official boyfriend girlfriend relationship, I have noticed that everyone benefits from the last one because of
great.
what I now know, what I now realize about myself, what I see as a tendency, what I see is what I've learned even just about women and relationships or whatever. And one thing you learn is that all women are not the same, just like all men are not the same. And really being aware of all those little details and figure out which buttons to press in yourself so that you can really just enjoy a happy, good relationship.
Yeah. Can I ask Iz a question since we have him here?
You got him. We got him for maybe
outside.
how much
Yeah.
time we got?
So
Ooh, snap.
so
we
check
missed
this
our
out.
whole thing, didn't we? All right, sorry.
They be all right.
You knew who you were while you were friends with Adrian, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys decided to get married. During your marriage, was there a part of you that's like, oh man, I have to change some of who I am? And did that frustrate you? And how did you deal with that?
Man, great. First of all, great questions. Yeah, I think what you just asked is probably a daily thing, if not a weekly thing, in the sense of, I think once I'm in my 50s, man. So like, you get real comfortable with whatever you've gotten comfortable with over 5 decades, and when somebody is sort of challenging that or asking you to be a little less selfish in certain areas, that's something you're dying to yourself to, if not daily, weekly. And again, though, when it's worth it, then the reward of that, it overshadows any of the work to get there. But yeah, anybody who's been married, even if they marry a unicorn and marry their best friend in the world, will tell you there are days, you know how it is.
Yeah.
There are days you just wake up like angry. Why am I angry? Nobody did nothing to me. I'm just mad today. My pen's not working. The garage won't open. Whatever it is, and you could get set off on the dumbest, stupidest stuff, and your spouse is also going to have days like that. And I know some people who are so volatile that they can't survive a moment like that. And then there are other people that go, yeah, man, it's a Tuesday. And tomorrow's going to be Wednesday and we'll figure it out again. I don't know if I hope that
No,
was
you did. So
specific.
how do you deal with the frustration whenever you are frustrated? Do you bring it to her? You call your homeboy? Like who do
That's
you,
a good
what
question.
do you do?
Yeah.
Where do you take these emotional, frustrated moments?
How
much can you
5
take
days a
directly to
week
her?
when I'm home, I go to this thing called Rumble. And it's this boxing class every morning, and it's
Yeah.
amazing what you can sort of work out psychologically, emotionally, etc. But I will say again, I feel like I'm just going to keep honoring A, but she has created such a space for me to go, I'm having a terrible day, man. I don't like this, I don't like that. And I've been in other relationships where like complaining turned into, well, how do you think I feel? And it's like, okay, then this isn't a safe space for me to bring this to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Surely, like my
That part.
my issue that is important enough to me to bring to you is not important enough to you because your thing is more in that moment.
Exactly.
And that's when dudes shut down, wall up, or find alternative means of communication and expression and intimacy, which is why I think both y'all are cautious in your relationships because you know how we're wired. And you're like, I don't want to meet the woman in my dreams and not still fix some of this wiring within me and be in the unicorn relationship and not trust my own self
Wow.
and wonder why she don't trust me either. And so what I learned is when I realized I have God's daughter who he's trusted to be, like, that's worth working on and that's worth fighting for. And to be able to have that space says, I don't want to mess this up. So I'm going to need you to know guys get tempted. I need you to know guys get vulnerable. I need you to know guys get weak and weary. And if they have somebody that they could lay their head on their lap and say, hey, walk with me through this, then you're winning. And again, it takes a lot to get there, but
And I would say
that's where you want to go.
I would say that when you were talking about women that want the musician and they want the music, they want the guy,
Mm-hmm.
they want Brunes, but they also want the character that you are on stage. Now, who you are on stage, you're just, you don't never frown, you never get frazzled,
you're happy.
you don't get upset, you just having fun.
Nerds and
You just all over the place.
stoppers, whatever you be eating.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Gummies,
Plus,
gummy bears.
you're doing it with Iz and Jonathan
Yeah.
and Tasha.
Yeah.
You're doing it with Mav and Upper Room and
mountaintop
all these people.
stuff.
It's mountaintop stuff and it's godly stuff.
Yeah.
It's man of God, solid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's not that I feel like I've dealt with a lot of women just wanting or just wanting the stuff around me and not me. I think I've had really good luck with them really wanting me as well. But I don't think that they always know how much that costs. And the flip side of it, the dysfunction, or I don't want to say the dysfunction, but just kind of what it takes for that to keep happening.
For sure.
Like wherever we have to, and I
That's
think
good, dude.
yeah, and I think that that's the part that we get scared of because the person off stage is not as super as the person on stage. As a matter of fact, I would argue that, and this probably is for preachers and everybody else alike, I feel like when you hold your breath, by the time it actually comes out, it's a little more violent than you ever would have needed to. Had I had a chance to just exhale and inhale as much as I wanted to, it would have been all right. It would have been a nice blah, blah, blah. But the fact that I'm on stage, the fact that, I can go to Walgreens and somebody taps my shoulder and says, Jonathan, and I have to turn around and hold my breath. Maybe I didn't feel like dealing with people. Maybe I was mad.
And why is it always at Walgreens
It's always at Walgreens.
or Target?
Walgreens, Target.
For me, it's always Target. Hey, can you can you say hello to my? But I'm just trying to shop with my kid, bro.
And for me, it's a lot of times the airport, which is even worse because we're
Flight
either
attendants at 5 a.m.
going
That's the
into
worst.
our issue or we're coming from our big
Off the
drain.
red eye. I want to get a picture with you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
No.
my breath stinks. Get away from me. And so I think that it's that type of stuff. And I think that
That analogy is perfect.
again, watching you as what would be assumed a man of God, I think that puts an extra level of expectation, an extra level of you should already have figured this out. You were older when you met Adrian. You had some stuff in the bag. You had some stuff processed. Maybe you knew some things, or you at least knew your way around some things. But for us in our 30s, think about how you were maybe before you got married, first marriage.
Yeah.
And maybe add that to how you were actually feeling in your 30s when we're like into our first mountaintop, our
question.
first prime. I think it's different.
It's absolutely different.
And so how would you advise us? Give us a few tips before we get out of here. Give us a few tips on what we should be doing, thinking, talking about, so that we do this thing right and don't crush women with our arts. But also be wary of how much we attract women with our arts.
I can't say this for you gentlemen at all. I can reference some of the relationships that I've been asked to speak into with people, either guys that I've mentored or whatever. And it is always like, give yourself a little bit of grace, first of all. You know, please do that, because I think we think there's going to be this, I've got to strive and work to get to this point where I'm worthy enough to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the advice I would give is, please take your time. I think so many.
You want me
guys,
to be a 45
I'm
year old bachelor out here? You want me to George Clooney it? What you want me to do?
But if it's right,
Listen, even George Clooney, who was the most famous bachelor, who swore he would never get married and never have kids, met a unicorn, and within months,
He was about 80.
that doesn't matter. That's actually more impressive, that he was so stuck in his ways that somebody was able to unstuck him.
wow.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how I would see that. When I say take your time, that's why I don't think I'm saying this to you guys, because I think you're self-aware enough to know, I know what I need, I know where I'm lacking, I know where I'm strong, and I know what I need to fill that. I think you both are emotionally and intelligent in that regard. But take your time, because I know guys who are on the stage who live sort of for that. We all live for that moment that we hit every night. When Brunes is in our ears and goes, guys, do it again, we know we hit something.
Mm-hmm.
Fair?
Yeah.
So when as a musician, because our
You don't
egos
say that
are
much in my set.
are all sort of entangled in that, we are always looking for that same kind of off the stage. And what ends up happening is you end up dating for 2-3 months at a time. The goes away. You have a night like we had in Memphis or something. You're like, that was rough.
Yeah.
It's really good.
No disrespect, Memphis, but that was you made us work for that one. And you just go, okay, well, I got to be in another city then. I need something else. And everybody's rushing on to the next sizzling moment. And I would say I probably would come back to, when you find something that is worth working on, work on it. And enjoy it, man. Enjoy the journey.
That's fair.
And if it doesn't materialize, learn something from it and bring that to the next chapter.
I think that's the biggest thing for me. And I'm just gonna be honest to end this podcast.
We love honesty.
Yeah, and we've been honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that for me, when I first started this and I was starting to go around to different radio stations, I was probably 22.
Mm-hmm.
First question they ask: when you get married?
Yeah.
Are you married? When you get married, what kind of woman you like? They made it kind of a joke and a sport, like, well, John, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they knew that maybe there were ladies out there that I had their attention and they wanted to see what I was saying, whatever. And so they really played into that. And I think that I took it like, oh, that's funny. But I think that understand that I was going through those 20s and really learning who I was in this industry and in this genre and in this church world. And it was having an impact on me. So I think that it gave me a certain clock too. Now, ladies, the ladies of God, the church girls, they very much have a clock in their head.
Oh, yeah.
First, they got a biological clock that I certainly understand. I get that. But they also have a clock in their heads like, I need to
Tomorrow.
make this happen.
Yeah.
I need to be married by so-and-so and so-and-so, or I look weird out here. And I just think that it's been really different for me or not different, but it's been really interesting for me as I try to not ignore, but just get over that church clock.
Yeah.
I don't have a biological clock.
Yeah.
I don't be pumping out this stuff for a long time. But I'm pause. Anyway,
Dang.
but either way,
Touch him, Jesus.
touch them.
With your whole hand. Touch him.
But either way, there is a church clock.
Yeah.
There is a celeb clock. There is a public clock.
Yeah, man.
There is a what y'all think clock. There is a YouTube comment clock. There is an Instagram rumor clock.
Guys, I promise you, I'm praying for my life more than you're praying for my life. I guarantee you, I pray for my situation more than you're praying for it. So I appreciate your expectation. I appreciate your disappointment if it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. But 50 years from now, I'm going to be with my wife, and you're not going to be there. So I'm going to take my time to make a good decision. And I can't worry about what people think, what the YouTube comments are, what I can't, because if I live by the praise of those comments, I'm going to die by the criticism of those comments.
Absolutely.
And I just refuse to do that.
Man.
Yeah, and I think that's just one thing I'm undoing within myself.
Great.
Because, and I think maybe I talked about this with you a long time ago. When you start off this thing, you can see God's approval, and it is in concert with the people's approval. You start off this thing and people start listening to your music. They start, whoo, that was good. Wow, that was amazing. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody get up there with a guitar and scat. And with you, we've never heard a guitar at all. And wow, that was powerful. And God's approval, God smiling on you and your career is in lockstep with everybody else being like, yo, Israel's amazing. But then there's a certain point in your career where God is still smiling and people maybe aren't smiling as much. Now people got all this other stuff to say. They got other criticism. And so now you really have to learn how to distinguish God's voice from the people's voice.
Yep.
They're wondering when I'm gonna get married, but is God worrying?
Bro, you just took the words out of my mouth and said it better than I could say it. I was like, I wouldn't want to end this podcast without saying, consider the God factor too. Because like most of this conversation, which I appreciate, has just been very raw and open and honest. And well, I think, and I should, and you should, and I didn't, but they did. But what about the God factor?
Yeah.
And to me, the God factor is so much stronger than anybody's expectation or even peers and people who mean well, almost putting that pressure on you. The God factor also can take you from, we've only been talking for 2 months, but like, I know. Because the God factor could do that too. The God factor could also say, I know that I ain't supposed to be here.
Yeah. Hey man, you've heard it from one of the greatest of all time. Keep God in the middle of it. Don't live on biological clock time. Don't live on church
Clock
public
time.
time. I've noticed as I've gotten older, I don't have as many F's to give anymore. And maybe that means I'm getting closer to what I've always wanted and needed in the first place.
Amen. Yo, that was great.